But all right, y'all ready? All right, I'm ready to give a word, so I hope you're ready to receive a word, all right? So I want you to take a deep breath. All right, let's calm down. You already know me. I got to get to the basics before I get all hype and get all crazy with you guys. So we're going to go to the basics. We're going to talk about something good. It's going to be good. So if you're taking notes, this is going to be a great time for you to take notes because this is something that we can all implement in our lives. So today I'm going to be talking about a breaking point, right? A breaking point in your life is something that for some people it's the worst thing in your life. It's the worst thing that could ever happen to you in your life, and that's what causes the breaking point. So a breaking point is something that goes on within your life that really hits home to you because it's physically breaking you, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So the definition of a breaking point, the point at which a person gives way under stress. Anyone stressed right now? Thank you for the 10 honest people. I know about another 100 people are stressed up in here, right? I was stressed this morning. I know you were stressing as well. I was stressing what to wear. I didn't even know what to wear this morning. I know that's a stress I have right now. That's you, right? Your clothes is all over the place. It's minor stress, but what I'm talking about is major stresses. And a definition of a breaking point is the point at which a person gives way under stress. In this world, broken things, and hear this closely, in this world, broken things are despised and thrown out. Anything we no longer need, we throw away. Damaged goods are rejected. And in our day in life, damaged goods, meaning physical people, are rejected as well. In marriage, when a relationship doesn't go according to plan, the spouse has a tendency to walk out. And they rather find something new rather than working towards restoration. And that's why you don't see, I think my grandparents, pastor's mom, celebrated 56 years of being married yesterday. And when I call them, I go, that is something, and also too, my grandparents as well, we have very successful relationships in our family. And that's great to be able to look up to because nowadays, what happens, every relationship and everything will reach a breaking point, and that breaking point will make you or break you. And nowadays, we do not see 56, 40 years of marriage because we do not understand and know how to hold on and stay during the breaking point. The world is full of people with broken hearts, broken spirits, and broken relationships. Psalms 34, if you're taking notes, Psalms 34 verses 18 reads, "The Lord is near the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit." So today I want to talk to those who have been praying and asking God for a breakthrough or a blessing in your life. But this message is for the ones who have asked and not have yet to see it. And I want to ask you today, have you positioned yourself to receive what you have been praying for? What you have been praying for, you can pray for it, but have you positioned yourself in the right position so when God gets ready to give it to you, are you going to be ready for it? A lot of people sit and pray expecting a deliverance and breakthrough and blessings to fall into their lap, and they're just still standing still. Even though I believe God is capable of doing such things, as more I progress as a Christian, as more as I see and read the Word of God, the more I am convinced that the most blessings and breakthrough happen not to come by standing still, but happen by when you start positioning yourself in order for you to catch that blessing. Let me give you an example. Before Esther could save the Jews from being killed, she had to first position herself into the king's palace. Before Peter and the other disciples could catch heavy loads of fish, they had to first position their nets in the right place. Before Peter could walk on water, he had to first position himself onto the water. Before the woman who struggled with the issue of blood for 12 years could ever be healed, she had to position herself at the feet of Jesus in order to be healed. All I'm trying to tell you today is that the most blessings and breakthrough are not caught by standing still, but are caught by when you are in the right position. And regardless of your position, God will use what you have to bring a breakthrough. right? We're gonna start getting excited here. Are you at your breaking point today? Ask that question. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, maybe you're like, I don't want to raise my hand. But are you right now at a point of your life where it's like, man, it is a breaking point for me. I feel like I'm just being crushed. When you get to that place, or if you are at that place right now, two things will happen. You will either break down or you will break through. Today, what will you choose? Will you break down and die and be in depression and be sad? Or will you break through what God has already have the victory for you? You have to understand that there's two things that you can do. Today, will you choose to break down and give up, or break through what God has for you? It's gonna get real. It's probably gonna get quiet here, but I think there's gonna be at least one excited person to hear this. If you cannot handle your breaking point, God is not gonna give you your breakthrough. If you cannot learn how to endure your pressure, if you cannot learn how to endure the crushing part, if you cannot endure the family little issues you have, if you cannot endure the little addictions you have, how is God gonna bless you? In order for God to give you the breakthrough and the blessings, you have to learn how to endure the breaking point. If you cannot handle the breaking, I'm sorry to tell you, but you will not be able to handle the breakthrough. You may be in a state of shock right now. Like, oh my gosh, this is happening to me. The breaking point has happened to me. But I want you to take it easy, because God is not stressing over your issues right now. Your circumstance right now in your life can actually become a platform for God to demonstrate His unfailing love and care for you. So that brokenness is just getting you ready for the platform that God has for you, right? That sadness and loneliness is just getting you ready for what God has for you in the long run. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, that in the midst of your brokenness, we don't really hear it at church, or yes, we hear the great things, but in the midst of your brokenness, I don't want you to think that you are abandoned, but yet you are probably even closer to God than you ever were. Why? Because in our point of desperation, we get really desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. So when we are desperate and waiting for God to do something, we will start acting desperate and asking God to, we're praying to God, we're coming to church, we're changing our social media, we're changing our friends. Why? Because we want to change so much, and that's what's God to say. We don't need to wait to our breaking point to change. What's crazy is God will put you through all these circumstances to see if you will still praise Him. I was studying yesterday, and I called Pastor 15 minutes before I started, and then he called me 15 minutes later. He goes, you know what would be a good person to talk about? I go, who? I go, don't say it. Are you talking about Job? He goes, how did you know? I go, because Job was a very successful man in the Bible, but yet he got stripped naked from everything. Job is a person in the Bible who had a breaking point. I'm going to read a little backstory on who Job is, and maybe it's going to reflect, and maybe when I start reading about Job, maybe you're going to start envisioning your own life. All right? Perhaps no Bible character has suffered more than Job. Job had everything. He had a good family, a good name, plenty of wealth. But Satan went to God and asked permission to alter Job's good future. Job 1 says, there was a man named Job. He was a man of complete integrity, who feared God, who turned away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. Job was the greatest among all the people in the East. But look, this is where it gets crazy, and this is where the trials come to play. I'm reading at verse 8, Job 1 verses 8. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? That's hard to comprehend, because the Lord told Satan, have you considered Pastor Jimmy? Have you considered Pastor Carlos? Have you even considered Last Chance Ministries? That's hard to comprehend and to wrap your head around when the Lord is saying, have you considered my servant Job? No one else on this earth is like him, no man of perfect integrity, who fears God and turns away from evil. Satan answered the Lord, does Job fear God for nothing? Haven't you placed a hedge around him? his household and everything he owns. You have blessed the works of his hand and his possession and have increased his lands. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he owns, and he will surely curse your face. Sometimes that happens with our family, because we say we serve God, but the other side of the family is like, man, I guarantee you, it ain't gonna last long. The minute you do this, he ain't gonna want to go to church anymore. The minute he starts acting like this, he ain't gonna want to go to church anymore. And that's what the enemy is telling Jesus. But if I take everything away, I'm surely he's gonna turn his face upon you and start following me. And God is saying, all right, very well, the Lord told Satan, everything he owns is in your power. However, do not lay a hand on Job himself. Then Job left the presence. What do you do when God allows the attack? What do you do when God puts you under pressure, or when God brings the breaking point to your life? Job didn't even know what was going on, but yet him and Jesus and Satan were already having a conversation about what's going to happen. So Job don't even know what's going to happen. Job don't even know who's going to die, who's going to come, who's going to go. He just being Job, but God and Satan are just going back and forth. And Jesus says everything that he owns is in your power, but just do not touch him. Later in the story, tragedy strikes. Job loses everything. He loses his children, his wealth, his livestock, his crop, his health, his finances, his relationship, his wife, and his friends. That's what you call a difficult circumstance right there. That sounds like what some of you are going through right now. Sounds like some of you in this place have been going back and forth, have been being tossed around, have been losing time after time, have been played time after time. You have been depressed, you have been sad, you have been broken. That's what happens many times in our breaking point, because our breaking point is probably the worst time of our life. Job begins his breaking point and begins to fall into a place where he wished he was never even born. Job said, may the day perish on which I was born, and the night in which it was said, a male child is conceived. May the day be darkness. May God above not seek it, nor the light shine upon it. My darkness and my shadows of death claim it. Meaning Job got in a place where he was already basically contemplating suicide. That sounds like what people go through in this day and age, because Job was to the point where, man, God, I have lost everything, and the only thing that I can do is maybe just commit suicide. Maybe the only thing left to do is I just wish I was never born. I wish that I was never in this family. I wish that I was just there. They were never my parents. I wish I didn't have to be so hard on myself. I wish that I wish I was never born. And some of you right now have that voice in your head saying, man, God, like, I don't know what to do. Job was at the point later on in the book, not like the next verse, the next chapters down, Job was at a point of where he just wanted to give up. Job's complaint was that it would have been better for him not to be born than to endure the present battles and affliction. Let me tell you something. Job ended up getting double than what he lost in the future. Job got all his aspects restored. His life, his family, his everything. God showed favor as he remained faithful to him. Let me tell you something. If you will stay faithful and committed and endure the tough times with God, God will be sure to bless you. And not just bless you with what you had, but bless you double for your trouble. Bless you more than what you've ever lost. Bless you more than you could ever imagine. Why? Because when we sincerely endure the goodness of God, God will do something great in your life. This information is important. I know it's not all exciting right now, but it's going to get there. But all this information is important because these details reflect the loving nature of God. God's love was present despite Job's unhelpful friends, wife, and harsh circumstances. God does not allow sorrow for the sake of suffering. God does not allow sorrow for the sake of suffering. He allows us to experience trials to make us better people and expose weak areas in our life. So when you face certain issues and circumstances, and when you face those people that you just do not want to face, it's not just because, oh, the devil's a liar. No, it's God is putting that certain thing in front of your path to see what would be your next step, to see what would be your response, to see what word will come out of your mouth, to see what gesture would come after that. God is saying, in order for me to bless you, I want to see if you can learn how to endure the process. If I could tell you something, I'd be the first to say that, man, circumstances, breaking points, I don't like them. Because I don't want to live my life at a breaking point. Like, who wants to do that? Who envisions waking up and like, okay, this is going to be the worst day of my life? No one envisions that. But when I think about it, when I worship, when I pray, when I really comprehend who God is, I'm saying, man, why am I worried about this such issue? Because if God can sustain them, then He can sustain me. If God can make a way from them, then He can make a way for me. If God can heal them, then He can heal me. If God can restore them, then He can restore me. So I think, and I'm like, man, what are we worried for in this day and age? And I'm trying to say, because the enemy is mad. Like, there's already been a battle going on this morning. There's already some things that we've had to fix this morning. And it's not just because we have to. It's just because the enemy is mad, because he wants you to see your breaking point as the worst time of your life. In actuality, God is wanting you to see your breaking point as the best and amazing time in your life. And it's hard to understand. It's hard to get your head around, but when you see the worst, God sees the best. When you see destruction, God sees made new. When you see slouch, God sees standing tall. When you see dark, God sees the light. That's just to show you that in your darkest moment, God is there. So don't think that your darkest moment is you're left alone, you're depressed, you don't have no one, you don't got no spouse, you don't got no brother, you don't got no sister. As long as you have God, you have everything. I always tell people, the reason why your prayers are not being answered is because you're talking and you're venting to the wrong people. Your Facebook friends are not God. Your mother, your father, your sister, your friends, your husband, your wife is not God. Stop crying to them and start crying to God. Stop getting desperate to them and get desperate to God. God is saying, I don't need you to get flat on your face and ask for forgiveness for her. I'm asking, get on your faith and ask forgiveness for me, because I am the one that's going to make you new. I am the one that's going to bring a new day. I'm the one that's going to bring that restoration. So when we learn how to get desperate to God, God will begin to move. So don't lose heart. He's going to bring you through this storm and bring glory to His name in the process. A breaking point is the moment of the greatest strain at which someone or something gives away. I have something right here. I have rubber bands. I brought these because everyone will have a breaking point. I don't want to hurt myself. But what I'm saying is that this rubber band is only this small. But when you ask the rubber band, what can you endure? He can endure a whole lot more than you envision. He can go through a whole lot more than you thought. He can handle a little more than you thought he was able to handle. And that's just the same with you. The devil thought he just had this, but in actuality, God, bring it to me, because I'm going to stretch, I'm going to expand, I'm going to hold it together, I'm going to expand. I know it hurts, I know it's stretching, I know my legs over here, my arms over here, I know my children are over there, my husband's over there, I know my husband's beating around, and I know my wife is messing around, I know my girlfriend is messing around, I know my children are lost, but I'm still making it, I'm still stretching it out. Why? Because God is sustaining me. See yourself as a rubber band. As much as you pull, it's still gonna stay intact. As much as you stretch, it's still gonna stay there. And God is saying, because of that, I'm gonna endure it. Because of your faithfulness, because of your process, because of the years of waiting, because of the nights of crying, because of the bitterness, because of the brokenness, because of the darkest days, because of the lonely nights, because of the nights of falling asleep crying, God is saying, because you have endured me, because you have stretched it out, because you said, God help me, God is gonna make you whole. But at the same token, some people cannot handle it. The minute they're stretched, The minute they're put to a situation, they're broken. The minute they're put through a circumstance, they're depressed. The minute they're put through something, they turn to drugs. They turn to sinful natures because they cannot handle it. And the people that cannot handle it are not close to God. And I'm not to harsh you or put you down, but in order to handle certain situations, you need to be the rubber band that's connected to God, that's endured with God, that prays to God, that asks God for guidance, that asks God for wisdom. Because when you learn how to endure with God, God will sustain you. And I just thought that was a good example because these rubber bands are put through different things. These rubber bands can expand to things that people did not see. You are going to expand to the point where people are going to wait for you just to swell up and die. But in that expansion, God is expanding you for bigger and larger things. God is expanding you for bigger and larger territories. So when you see expansion in something that does not look good, I see man, God is going to do something great. God is going to bring something new. God is going to do something amazing. Why? Because I can endure what God has for me. Someone just stretch out your arms, if you can. Stretch out your arms. Some of you are like even stretched out more than what you're like. Some of you, like that's just a little bit of what you're going through. If you could duplicate all those stretches, how long would your hands be? It would be long, because that is a thing that, man, it's hard. It's hard because we don't want to like expand. We live our life so conservative, and I'm a Christian and I should not be there. Like, you need to learn how to be a Christian that is outrageous. Like, you need to learn how to be a Christian that is not scared to do some things. You need to be a Christian that is not scared to defeat some Goliath. You need to be a Christian that is not scared to split the sea. You need to be a Christian that is not scared to pick up your cross and move forward. You need to be a Christian that says, God, I know it isn't you, so I can heal the blind, so I can heal the lepers, so I can heal the crippled. God is saying, you are the people. You are the chosen people. Why are we waiting for the next generation? This is the generation. God is saying, I have brought you on this earth to do the task that I have in. This world is in sin. This world is messed up. And I'm sorry to say that, but the world is what it is today because of us. The laws are the laws because of us. The prayer at a school is because of us. The sinful natures is because of us, because we have allowed it to be here, and we have kept our Christianities in these four walls. We've just allowed to say it is what it is and just let them do it. We've allowed this world to control us so long, and I'm not getting political or anything like that, but I'm just saying you have a greatest voice of all. You have a better chance than the people that are all jacked up out there. Why? Because God has given you this assignment. God has given you this task. So when God gives you something, don't wait to fail on it. Wait and start now. The time is now. God is saying, I have given you something, and I want you to accomplish it now. The world is what it is because of us. The marriages are unsuccessful because of us. The relationships are unsuccessful because of us. The businesses are falling apart because of us, because we don't know, and as sad as it is, as a generation that we are, sometimes we don't know how to endure. Endurance is a big thing. Endurance is keeping on going when you don't feel like keeping on going. Fighting for that marriage when you don't feel like fighting for it. Fighting for that children when you don't want to fight for them. Fighting for that household member when you just, man, I just tried too much. Try a little harder. If God has never given up on you, if God has never failed you, then who gives you the ability to fail on someone else? God is saying, if I have called you, if I sustained you, if I have helped you, if I have restored you, if I have never failed you, then what makes you think that you can do that? It's time that we go get everything back. It's time that we fight for that breaking point. Because if we can endure the breaking point, we can endure and we can successfully live and rejoice in the breakthrough. So many things can happen quickly. The phone rings and the voice says, I've got bad news. I failed an exam. The test came back positive. My child has died. She said, no, we're getting a divorce. The company does not need me anymore. The friendship suddenly ends. Thinking about committing suicide. You divorce because there's another woman or another man. Time stops, life stops, and you're at the worst point of your life. How will you find the strength to continue to move on? The breaking point shows us what needs to be healed. Maybe you have not found your healing yet because maybe you have not hit rock bottom. For some of us, we need to hit rock bottom in order to understand who God is. We need to be locked up in order to meet God. We need to be at the point of desperation with a gun to our head to understand that that's not the way. And I want you to understand that things can change quickly. But God is everlasting. So when sudden things in our earth change, understand that God is everlasting and God is able to sustain us. When we turn to God and let Him in, despite feeling completely exposed, we can begin to heal. When you say, God, I am at the point of brokenness, then when you do that, God is saying, okay, then I'm going to move in your life and begin to heal. Life has listen to this, and I hope someone gets excited, because life has a way of showing us how far we have fallen. Life has a way of showing us how far we have fallen. But God has a way of showing us how far we will go. The world will say something. The world will say you will never make it. Your family say you will never get to that school. You will never accomplish that assignment. But God says, I don't care where you've been. I don't care where you started. I just know where you're going to finish. I already know what you're going to be placed with. I already know the reward that you are going to get. So do not look at your backstory. Many times we live our life trying to move forward but still living in the past. In order for you to get to your future, you need to step out of your past. Pastor always says that, and it's so true, because in order to get your breakthrough, you need to let go of the brokenness. In order to get your blessing, you need to let go of the frustration. In order to get your new car and your new job, you need to learn how to let this one go. You make sense? God is wanting you to expand your territories, but the only person that will do that is God and ourselves. There's something about reaching a breaking point that causes us to seek God more sincerely. Each of us have had that moment where we're tested beyond our comfort zone. And it's not an easy place to be. Ask the rubber band. He'll do it, but it's not the most comfortable thing to do. Know this, that there is a blessing tucked away in that encounter. There is a blessing tucked away in that encounter. Right now, look at your life and what have you encountered in your life? But you cannot see the blessing, but you know the encounter is there. You know the circumstance is there, but you don't see the encounter. I want you to just close your eyes really quick. And I want you to envision, what are you encountering right now? What has the enemy placed over your life right now? What has the enemy taken over right now in your life? What territories has he got from you right now? But I want you to understand, at the same token, there is a reward tucked in that. There is a reward tucked in that. It looks bad. It looks bad, but it's going to work out for good. They meant it for evil, but God is going to make it good. You cried all night, but joy is coming in the morning. You've bent over about it, but God is going to get you standing firm in a bit. I'm come to tell you that your breakthrough is on its way. Your breaking point is your blessing. I'm going to read that again. It may look bad, but it's going to work out. Come on, someone say that. It may look bad, but it's going to work out. They meant it for evil, but God is going to make it good. You're bent over now, but you're going to be standing strong in a minute. I've come to tell you that your breaking point is your breakthrough. Your breaking point is your breakthrough. God is about to give you a breakthrough. I know the devil may not believe it. I know the devil cannot see it. I know your flesh cannot receive it. But I do know that a blessing is coming your way. I know your mind cannot comprehend it. I know the evidence does not verify it, but my faith is my evidence. And I believe that my faith will sustain me, and God is going to do something, because what the enemy thought he was going to turn around, God is going to turn it for good. What the enemy thought he was going to kill, God is going to revive. What the enemy thought he was going to take it back, God is going to give you double for your trouble. I dare you to open your mouth. I dare you to open your mouth and give God some praise. I can do the preaching, but you got to do the praising. I can do the preaching, but you got to do the praising. I can do the telling, but you got to do the hearing. I can speak nothing but blessings over your life, but you got to be the receivers. I can do the declarations, but you got to receive it. You are at that breaking point. And I want you to shout and put the enemy and the devil to shame. Because the enemy thought he had you. Right now, that little praise break we had, that freaked the enemy out. That shocked the enemy. He was scratching his head because, man, I thought I had him. I thought I had her. You were just crying this morning. You were just depressed last night. You just wanted to overdose yesterday. What happened? Because God, when you begin to get refueled by God and who God is, God will sustain you. God will show you that this world has nothing to offer, but I have everything to offer. I have everlasting love. I have everlasting forgiveness. I have it all. Don't be afraid to lift God up. Don't be afraid to lift those hands that have been worried. Don't be afraid to lift your head. Don't be afraid to open your mouth. Don't be afraid to thank God, because everything is about to shift in your life. That was a pretty good move, right? Come on, let's do it. Everything is about to shift in your life. You notice that we went up. You notice that we went up because God has nothing but greatness for you. God has nothing but blessings for you. God has nothing but victories for you. So when we shift, we're going up. When we shift, we're going higher. When we shift, we're taking on new dimensions. When we shift, we're taking on new territories. When we shift, there is something about shifting. Something happens when you are broken. The greatest blessings will happen in your darkest moments. Your greatest blessings will happen when people are broken. There is something that happens when things are broken. When you are broken, there's something about it. If you are into pottery, what happens is they start with a brick of clay. And they build this masterpiece. And they take hours of spinning and spinning and spinning and water and molding and forming and dimensions and inches and height and length. They focus on it. And then it's not to their pleasing, so they crush it again. And they start the spinning process again. More water, more clay, forming it more, forming it better, add this dimension. And then they break it again. And that's what's happening in your life. There's something that happens when you break it. When you break it, you just see that, okay, I don't know what that breaking was for, God. I don't know why that was pulled out of my life, but I'm just believing in you. I don't know why my daughter was taken away from you. I don't know why my son was taken away from me, but I'm just going to endure the process. I don't know why my wife left me, but I'm just going to endure the process. That's the breaking part. And then once it's in that breaking part, you know what happens? It's not over. So your little circumstances is, I'm sorry to say, but it's not over. Because what happens next is you get to a fiery furnace. Then You're put in that fiery furnace. So you thought you had it bad when you were getting smashed and crushed. But no, that's just the beginning, honey. You got to endure a little more. You got to endure some heat. You got to endure some backlash. You got to endure some people talking about you. You got to endure some people talking down on you. Once you endure that, you'll be placed in the fire. And once you're in the fire, it's do or die. Because what happens is they will really see if they made it right, if it does not crack and burst in the fire. And I'm here to tell you, I do not want you to crack and burst in the fire. When you get in the fire, you get this heat, you get this rage, you overcome the enemy and saying, man, you didn't put me in this situation for nothing. You didn't put me in this situation for nothing, because I'm believing that in this fiery furnace, I'm going to endure. And then what happens after that? They take it out. And if it endured, it's this beautiful masterpiece. If you've endured, you'll be someone and something beautiful. If you've endured, you will see greatness. If you've endured the breaking point, you will see the promised land. I want to ensure you that what you are going through right now is not your final destination. What you are going through right now is not the end of the world. What you are experiencing right now, God is saying you have experienced nothing to compare to what I've experienced. We all have a breaking point. Jesus, when he was carrying the cross, even had a point of wanting to break down and just in pain, in discomfort, in tiredness. We've all had a breaking point, but we understand we are called to be like Jesus. So if Jesus didn't fail us, then we're not going to fail him. If Jesus didn't forget us, we're not going to forget him. If Jesus never stopped loving us, we're not going to ever stop loving him. Why? Because we are to be like God. When Jesus broke bread, he was multiplying the miracles. Remember that story when he fed the 5,000? When he broke what was little. When you take away what you really don't have a lot of, God will multiply that blessing. Many times our breakthrough will come out of brokenness. In this message, we saw how God uses what we have and what we've been through to deliver the miracles we've been waiting on.